Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lion's Den. This is the Weekly Roar. It's great to have you guys back in the Lion's Den. Today, I'm going to be sharing the next lesson learned in leadership, and this is a big one. It's about a common superpower that we all have in common. I'm going to share what that superpower is in just a second. But first, I'm Greg Storch. I'm the owner of Lion Enterprise, host of the Weekly Roar, and of course, founder of a worldwide bartered coaching program called The Helping Hand. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Last week in the Lion's Den, I shared one of my favorite lessons learned in leadership, and that was all about slowing down your climb to the top in order to connect with others along the way. I shared several differences between climbers and connectors, and I shared the reasons why you want to strike a balance between both qualities as a leader. If you weren't able to join us last Wednesday for the Weekly Roar, or maybe you just want to watch that session over again, or maybe you want to share it out with someone who you think might find value in it, you can access those free video resources on my website at lion-enterprise.com. When you get to the homepage, just click on the Lion's Pride Library menu and find video number 143 for last week. And while you're in the Lion's Pride Library, make sure you stick around a while and look for the other free resources. It's a great way for you to get more of the roar. Okay, it's time to get today's lesson learned in leadership started, and I'm calling this one, Your Choice is a Superpower. Let me ask you this. Do you believe that we create the life we live by the choices we make? The reason I'm asking you that question is because I believe that's true. I believe that we are constantly facing decision points throughout our entire lives, and when they occur, we're faced with making a choice. That's why I think it's our superpower. The thing is, we may not always get what we want, but we always get what we choose. And today's lesson learned is really about that fact that, as Coach John Wooden once said, the choice you make makes you. Wow, that's heavy. The choices we make us. So we have the ability to become whatever we desire based upon the decisions we make. That's exactly why I say the power of choice is our superpower. Now, how many times have you heard someone saying, well, I really didn't have a choice? Of course you did. There's always a choice. Now, some choices are so easy, we don't even count them as choices. We pay the bills, we stop at red lights, or we make dinner for the kids. Whatever it is, we still might think we don't have a choice, but we do. So don't believe your mind when it tries to tell you otherwise. And then there's the choices that we face that are so hard to make that we choose to do nothing because we believe doing nothing is better than the pain that comes with making that difficult decision that could end up throwing a monkey wrench in the gears of our lives. The truth is that when you tell yourself that you don't have a choice, you're really removing the option of having a choice. You spend time convincing yourself that what you're facing is the only option you have, and that removes our ability to consider any alternatives. Choices, without question, are the biggest determining factor on how our lives turn out. Now, you might want to challenge that. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, really? Did the child who was born blind have a choice? Did the young girl who grew up in a poor family have a choice? Well, I would tell you that they may not have had a choice about that particular thing, how they were born or what family they were born into. But they all certainly have a choice when it comes to the choice of how they're going to handle that. And that choice that they make will be the contributing factor to how their life will turn out. You know, I get asked all the time how I ended up living abroad in Italy. And that question is sometimes followed by a statement like, I would love to do that, but I could never. Well, if you believe you can't, then you'll make choices that align with that belief. And that's right, you never will. See, my wife and I wanted to live overseas, and we believed that we could. And when we were faced with the choice of moving to Italy or remaining in Virginia, the choice we made changed our lives. We all know people who may have difficult lives by making the wrong choices. Unfortunately, my oldest brother comes to mind. But unlike Lemony Snicket's, who lived a life of unfortunate events, my brother lived a life of a series of unfortunate choices. And those choices resulted in a prison sentence and homelessness. And we also know people who seem to navigate life without effort because of the good choices they made. Maybe it was choosing the right stocks, the right business, or the right friends. But regardless of which road a person takes, I can tell you that we don't always get what we want, but we do always get what we choose. J.K. Rowling once said that it is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. When it comes to leaders, leaders are forced to make choices all the time. I know I've made thousands of them myself, and that's something all leaders have in common. Not all of them were great choices that I made, but I always tried to stay true to myself and make the best choice that I could at the time. When it comes to tough choices, there's two things that hold true. They're true for me, and if you think about some of the toughest choices you've made, you'll see that they probably hold true for you as well. The first thing is that the choices we make, the really tough ones, always have a way of showing us ourselves. If you want to know who people are, you don't have to look at their resumes or even listen to what they say. All you have to do is take a look at the choices they've made. That's right. We can say we believe in this or we value that, or even try to act in a certain way to give the appearance of being somebody we may or may not truly be. But when it comes to our choices, they're sure to reveal who we truly are. And the same goes for you. And then the second thing that I found that holds true about these difficult choices that we have to make is that once the choice has been made, it changes who we are. A former mentor of mine and one of my all-time favorite motivational speakers, Zig Ziglar, was quoted as saying, "Every choice you make has an end result. Anyone who makes a choice should understand that once the choice has been made, they have to deal with the consequences of that choice, good or bad. And that has a great impact on us. Every time that we make a choice, we change just a little bit. And then the sum of all of those choices is what creates who we are. And that's why it's important that we choose what we choose wisely. Today, I want to share 3 critical choices that we can make as a leader and, you know what, simply as a human being. And making these choices can make us not only better leaders, but better people. So let me share these with you. The first one is to choose a higher standard. If you want to be a good leader and a better human being, choose to hold yourself to a higher standard than what others might expect of you. One of the surest ways to fail as a leader is to only do the bare minimum. You probably know this, but you should strive not to meet others' expectations, but to exceed them. I've always tended to over deliver, and it's a good thing, but I can remember plenty of times turning in a work product that I spent a lot of time on preparing. And when it was reviewed by my boss, he'd say, "Oh, you didn't need to do all that." Well, yes, I did. Sure, I could have met the expectations of the deliverable without investing so much time in it, but then I wouldn't be true to who I am. That's just not the way I operate. So, my advice to you is never get comfortable with your level of performance. Continually push yourself to reach your potential and always hold a higher standard for yourself than others may hold for you. Taking my advice will not only help you perform better, but it will also help you feel good about yourself. And one of the best ways to do that is to know that you're living up to your highest potential. In the words of legendary basketball coach John Wooden, never try to be better than others, but be the best you can be. Never dumb down who you are to meet someone else's low expectations. Be true to who you are and strive to always exceed expectations. Under promise and over deliver. Now, another critical choice that we make that helps us to become better leaders and better people is choosing to help others. Now, when it comes to leadership, sometimes we have to tell people what they don't want to hear, even though it's helpful to them in the long run. You see, helping people is not the same as pleasing them all the time. Sometimes the people we lead want what they don't need and they need what they don't want. Well, when that happens, sometimes we have to deliver a message that isn't what they want to hear, but it is what they need to hear. Helping people is more important than making them happy. Believe me, there'll be plenty of times we make people unhappy as a result of fulfilling our responsibilities as a leader. We don't always get to make the popular choices that results in everyone being happy. At the end of the day, we should strive to ensure we give everyone our best effort, even though we're bound to make someone unhappy. It's one of the downsides to leadership. We're going to have critics and we're going to be misunderstood. But despite those things, leading others is a choice we make. And when we focus on helping people instead of trying to always make them happy, the choice to lead gets easier. Then the last critical choice that I wanted to share with you today is to choose to focus on the present. Now, there's a reason why the windshield in our cars is larger than the rearview mirror. It's so we can spend time clearly seeing what lies ahead of us instead of being focused on what lies behind. A lot of people struggle with letting go of opportunities that they've missed out on. That just leads to regret, and they get stuck in focusing on that part of their lives that might have been. And then they start shooting all over themselves. If you want to stay focused on the present, remember this one simple phrase. You ready for it? You might want to grab a pencil for this one. All right, here it is. Remember this. Yesterday ended last night. The only thing we can control is what we choose to do right now. The longer we focus on yesterday, the more we lose sight of today's opportunities. I heard someone say one time that opportunities never looked as good coming as they do going. If you stay focused in the wrong place, you'll miss every one that comes along. While they come from all different directions, opportunities can only be taken when they're in the present. Whatever's happened in your life has already happened, and there's no way to go back and change it. We all know that. All we can do is wipe the slate clean and just keep moving forward. Actually, this lesson is about choice, right? And so the fact is, we do have a choice here as well. We either choose to remain focused on the things we can't change, or we choose to shift our focus to the here and now and control what's happening in the present. Remember, new beginnings can only come from old endings. So, there are the three really critical choices that we can make that are going to change our trajectory as leaders and even as human beings. Making a choice to hold ourselves to a higher standard, choosing to help others, and choosing to focus on the present. Whatever you do, I hope you'll choose to follow this advice. At the end of the day, there's one thing I know to be absolutely true, and that is the choices we make truly do make us. Every choice we make has the power to change who we are for better or for worse. To be a successful leader, you have to know what you stand for, and you have to know what you're willing to stand up to. The key choices we make when it comes to our behaviors and how we'll lead others is not only an indicator of the kind of leader you are, but it also determines the type of leader and the type of person you'll become. The choices we make tell others who we really are, and they will continue to create the person we become, for better or for worse. And that is why I believe that choice is our greatest superpower. Well, look at that. I'm making the choice to wrap up today's weekly roar. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson learned in leadership. Next week, I'm going to be talking about influence as it relates to leadership. Sometimes the word influence can conjure up negative thoughts or feelings of selfishness. So I want to spend some time speaking about the value of influence and why it's important for leaders to loan it out when it's needed. If you want to keep running to the roar, then come on back to the Lion's Den next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and join me for the weekly roar. Thanks everybody for showing up today. I appreciate you and I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, remember, be powerful, but stay poised just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.